Alright guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at another vintage G.I. Joe. Today we got the 1970 Man of Action. So I just recently received this figure in from eBay. Got a pretty good deal on him. He's in pretty nice shape, but he does have some issues that I'm going to attempt to address in this video. So just take a quick look at his head sculpt. The Man of Action doesn't have a beard like a lot of the other vintage figures. This particular head sculpt's in pretty good shape. It has some very minor eyebrow scuffs, but aside from that, the face is pretty clean, as is the flocking. It's in really good shape. It's original flock, so that's a very nice thing to come across. So that's definitely a good thing. The uniform is decent, so it's pretty much complete figure. He has a repo patch already put on him from the seller. He has his original 2-pocket, 2-button shirt, pants. He has his boots, and he does come with his hat. So that's what the Man of Action would have originally come with. I don't believe, no, he doesn't have a dog tag, so I will have to hunt one of those down to fully make him complete. But taking a look at the back of the uniform, you'll see what one of the major issues is. There's a giant stain on the back of his shirt. Not sure what that stain is. I don't know if it's coffee, blood, food stain, really don't know. But looks like it's been there for a while, so it'd be interesting to see if I can get that clean. The uniform itself is essentially decent, but it's got a faded look to it, the pants especially. I think looking at it closely, there's some fading and scuffing up a little bit on the knee area, as you can see there. Sorry about the focus here, guys. But in any event, the uniform's a little bit rough, so we're gonna address that, see if I can't clean it up a bit. It's got some like minor little stains, as you can see in there. Pretty nice figure overall. But the major thing definitely want to address is that stain there on the back. So I'm going to take a look at the figure underneath. The listing did show a couple of issues. Not sure if I'm going to be able to address all of them here in this video. Take the boots off. And take a look at some of those other issues here. So does have a cracked knee. I noticed it was pretty wobbly. I haven't really come across any fixes online for this. Could possibly put some glue in there and maybe tape it together, or just tape it in general to prevent it from getting worse. It's got an inner thigh crack and the knee crack. Very tiny hairline crack right here. But those are some common issues you do come across against with vintage G.I. Joes. A lot of people just swap out the parts. I don't have vintage parts to swap it out with. And as long as I can get them on display, I'll be okay with that. The arms don't seem to have any splits, so that's good. And he's in really clean shape, so that's a good thing. This arm's a little floppy, and it looks like perhaps I could tap that in a little bit more and give it the strength. That rivet looks like it needs a little tapping. But in essence, I'm going to start by dressing the uniform. So with a stain like this on the uniform, just washing it's probably not going to work. With stains, I like the Oxy Clean from Woolite, but I haven't been able to come across that, so I did pick up a product that I'm not familiar with using, the Oxy Magic. It's a multi-purpose, so you could use this for laundry, or you could use it for your carpet or whatever. So it's a multi-purpose. It doesn't have chlorine and bleach-free, as I don't know how it's going to react to this vintage uniform. But I'm going to pre-treat it with that and see how it goes. Alright, so we're back. Got the uniform here, and one thing I noticed, the stain goes all the way through to the inner side of the fabric. So I'm going to pre-treat it with the Oxy Magic and see where that goes. I'm going to let that soak in some, and I'm also going to agitate it. After that, I got some detergent, some Tide in the container. And this one might have to soak a while because it does look like a pretty well set in stain. And I'm going to spray this other side once more, because again, you could still see the stain there. So this may or may not do the trick. This might not resolve the issue, but we're going to give it a shot and see how far we get with it. So I'll continue on doing this, and then I'll drop it into the detergent and see if that will release the this set-in stain. Alright, so I did the washing and stain removal process. It didn't really work out too great. Pants came out a little cleaner. I think they're already faded a bit, and I think they're slightly more faded. And then the shirt itself looks like it faded a bit as well from the wash. The interior here where the stain was is mostly gone, but you can still see a residue of it. And on the back, most of the stain came out, but it did kind of fade it out from all the agitation, so didn't really work out spectacularly. I can't say I would recommend this particular process, but that's trial and error. That's where I got it. You know, the stain is not as noticeable, so that's definitely a nice thing, but it's a little faded, so kind of a fail, but that's how it turned out. Alright, so the uniform wasn't the greatest success, but I did take the time to address the cracked knee. Now, I didn't find anything really much online on how to repair these cracked knees. Most people just replace them, but you'll see this knee is actually pretty well repaired now. So what I did was I used Loctite super glue. Sorry about the focus here again. So I just used some Loctite super glue with the gel control, and I put it into the crack, and I did buy a little C-clamp and put some felt pads on it to hold it in place. This didn't really work out, so I just used my hands to hold it firmly and tightly together as the glue dried, and it held. So if you look closely, obviously you could see there's slightly a crack there, but the knee is no longer flopping around. This thing was just swinging back and forth because it was so loose. But now with the seam all glued back up, it did work. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term fix, but I know Loctite glues are pretty good. So he can hold a pose. So I think that's a pretty good success. He's going to be able to stand on display without falling over. So that's definitely a excellent thing. So I'll go ahead and finish getting him dressed up, and we'll see how he turned out. Alright, so here's how the figure turned out. 1970 Man of Action. I think he turned out pretty well. So the the figure had excellent flocking. It was a pretty clean base figure. Had a broken knee. I think the knee repair turned out pretty well, being that there was no real options online that I seen for repairs on a cracked knee aside from replacing it. So I think that worked out pretty well. The uniform's a bit more faded than it was when I initially received it, but it was pretty beat up. It was a weekend warrior kind of uniform, or a backyard warrior more accurately, meaning the figure was, and the uniform was played with action figure, so it was never mint. So it is a little bit more faded now, but it's also a lot less more stained. So there's a little bit of fading in the back where I had to do some scrubbing on that stain, but the stain is mostly gone. Not completely. If you look close enough, you could see a little bit of the remnant, but it's mostly gone, which is good. So the knee repair and the uniform clean. The new patch I did put on because I did lose the repo patch that was already on there from the washing process, but pretty happy with it. You know, the figure is definitely displayable. May touch up the eyebrows in the future, but as it stands, that is the Man of Action. Don't know if I'd necessarily recommend all the techniques I did, or going too harsh on scrubbing a stain on a vintage outfit, because they are old, so you don't want to push the envelope and wear them out like I did a little bit in the back. But it was a really set in stain, and I couldn't tell you exactly what that stain was, whether it was coffee or what, but it was really in there really well. But it's now mostly gone, but really nice piece for a display. I picked them up at a really reasonable price online, so I'm happy with this to have a Man of Action on display. So I hope you enjoyed watching the process, and until next time, guys, thanks for watching.